Hey guys, Dr. Adam Tice here. Welcome to today's office hours session. So today we're going to talk about some more of the things that nobody's telling you, and these are things that you need to know. Everything you need to know, but nobody's telling you. And the topic for today that I wanted to talk about is mind-body medicine. And this is kind of one of my favorite topics. Just because it's so important in the realm of healing. And so I just thought we would touch on this. It's something that came up sort of personally and clinically in a couple of contexts, and then it's just kind of got me thinking about it. Hey, well, let's loop back around and talk about some of the basic foundational things. I mean, we're always talking about food and air and water and digestion and immunity and remedies and all this stuff. And that's all great. I love it. Those are my tools. But, you know, what's up underneath that? What's underneath the hood of your brain? What's going on? What are your thoughts? What are you thinking? Are you connected? Are you like one of those like cartoon things where your head is just like up in the clouds and it's just totally floating and not even connected to the body? Or are you feeling grounded and rooted and strong and stable and connected and vital? That's kind of what we're talking about. And so mind-body medicine really is the realm where we open the possibility to heal, and it's where we need to be able to open that door to invite the healing in, whether that's big healing or small healing. This can be tiny everyday stuff. This can be mental, emotional, psychological things, and this is kind of, probably most importantly where this is coming up is, one of the first things that I do before I onboard people as new patients, I always do a call with everybody up front. And I always have done this, and I've learned, I tried not to do it once, and I learned better, just take the time up front and make sure everybody's in the right place, make sure we're gonna make a good team. Because, I'm very clear about it. What we do here is definitely not for everyone. Okay, for those of you that have the eyes to see and the ears to hear this, that's who I'm talking to. And these are the gentle reminders that we all need, that I need, and because I'm definitely not above or beyond any of this work, and that's kind of what I think. That's one of the things that makes, not that it's like special or anything like that, but I try my best to be integrated. Means I try my best and I do my best every day to be as impeccable as I can and walk the walk and talk the talk and actually live the lifestyle and do the deal. This is what we're doing. We are living and breathing this journey of life, and this is a journey into wholeness, and this is a whole person journey. And there are all these different parts of ourselves that seem to be, if we were to subscribe to all of the mainstream commercialism and, really the mainstream 3D world, it's real easy and real seductive what's out there as far as what the world has to offer, with all the sensual pleasures, all the fancy things, all the nice stuff, and all the material world, to get kind of wrapped up in that and then kind of get stuck in that. And then not even realize that you're getting stuck and mired in that until maybe sometime the body or the mind starts to give you some feedback or maybe some scream back at you and tell you, hey, something's not right, something's not balanced. That's why I think there are so many mental, emotional, psychological issues, and this is the domain of mind-body. I mean, all this anxiety and the depression and all of these different flavors of these DSM psychiatric type diagnoses. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of the labels. I'm not a fan of the ownership, that kind of responsibility, like responsibly owning a pathology. That doesn't make sense to me. That does not make sense in my world. I think that the mind and the body is a dynamic system, and we need to remember that, and that we always, always, always need to keep the door open and the space of possibility for miracles to happen and for our bodies and our minds to heal. Because they're not two separate things. They are the same thing. The mind and the body is in this relationship. The heart and the mind is in this relationship. And you're one person. You are a whole person. I am a whole person, just as I am. And the thing about it is, and it's really the miraculous thing, is in Ayurveda and the Vedas and some of the other wisdom traditions, they know this and they speak to this. And this is kind of built into some of those teachings, which many of those teachings, I would say, I can only speak for the ones that I'm really familiar with, as far as the Vedic and the yogic teachings. That's not so much religious, the religious territory. I mean, we're in a lifestyle territory. Those are ancient doctrines that have been uncovered and discovered and revealed by ancient scientists known as rishis, as yogis, as saints, as sages. And again, in that era, there was a tremendous amount of R&D, research, development, time, awareness, consciousness, energy, attention that was put into the inner domain and the inner sciences, and trying to understand and harmonize the inner workings of the man, of the being, okay? And that's really an understanding that we need to have if we're going to bring the mind and the body together, and actually all the different layers of the being, the food body, the breath body, the intellectual body, the spiritual bodies. All these different bodies are kind of nested in. And then, again, we're only seeing with the physical eye within some narrow bandwidth known as the physical spectrum, and then the 3D world, and then here we go. Here, this trickles down into the food body. But all these other bodies, the breath body, the emotional body, the intellectual body, the spiritual body, these things are all happening simultaneously all the time. And then we get the readout of all that is the physical system. So if there's something going on in the physical system, oftentimes, many times, most times, it's pointing towards something where there is some disturbance in the field. Oftentimes it ends up residing in the mental field, the emotional field, depending on who the person is and kind of where you store stuff. Some people are really mental about things, some people are really emotional about things, but the point is it'll end up getting reflected and kind of stored, and the printout, the readout of that software, which is the psychology and the emotions, the readout is the body. And so we got to know that first of all, and then we have to surrender to the fact that some of these things are out of our control. And so surrendering to who we think we are, we're a collection of our life experiences, all the people that we've encountered, the conversations we've had, the situations we've found ourselves in, the circumstances that we've been in, the material that we've read, the education that we've had. All of these things mix up and kind of pile up, really. And then that's what makes us really smart, or so we think. We're so smart. I think I'm so smart because I've read so many books or whatever. And then we confuse that. We get that voice of that knowledge, which we are calling it knowledge, but it's really just a regurgitation or a reflection of things that we've read, seen, heard, overheard, experienced, etc. And all that gets mixed up, piled up, and we call that our knowledge, okay? And if something doesn't fit into the bandwidth of that knowledge, it gets hard for us to see, to understand, to comprehend. So I was reminded recently that the real journey, part of this journey is a part of the healing journey and the return to wholeness, and the mind-body journey is a return to wholeness, which is a return to common sense. And by common sense, I'm kind of contrasting that with wisdom. We think that wisdom is what we're looking for to understand, but really the common sense is what we're looking for, because we want to interact with the world in a common sense kind of way that is direct and actually relating with what's happening, versus just all the collections of the ideas that I have, and then I'm just always really interacting with those ideas and not really interfacing and interacting and connecting with the real world. And this is connecting with the elements, and this is the return to nature, and this is the surrender that is required to return to nature, to acknowledge that there is something at work, some intelligence, strategic intelligence, that is arranging and orchestrating all this. And we have certain ideas about the things that we want to do and that we need to do and what is right and what is wrong. And then we move forward with those ideas. But then oftentimes Cosmos has another, the universe has another, God, however you want to frame that, has another idea for us. And life sometimes takes turns that are unexpected. But ultimately, in the hindsight, we can see when we look back how that was in divine order, and that it actually was playing a role in our evolution. And so the reminder is just to digest all of your life experiences, and that the mind and the body and the emotions and the psychological domain also has a component of digestion. And if we don't digest the mental, emotional, psychological, situational life circumstances that we experience, we have to digest that mentally, emotionally. And homeopathics and stuff can help with that. You know, for example, Ignatia. Not echinacea, the herb that we use for immune boosting. Ignatia, homeopathic Ignatia. This is like a first aid remedy for shock, trauma, big change, sudden change, death, divorce, good changes and bad changes. And, you know, that's one way, you know, use remedies to kind of help catalyze and facilitate and assist the mental, emotional, psychological, digestive process. But just a reminder, guys, mind, body also has a digestive component. And so we just need to make sure, just do a double check, and this is something welcome to Earth. You got to do this almost every day, and certainly every week or every month or every year, at some kind of regular interval. You want to make sure that you have been mentally, emotionally digesting and processing, assimilating, eliminating. Just like the physical digestion. Same thing, because if that stuff doesn't get digested, processed, absorbed, assimilated, eliminated, then there's going to be some kind of stagnation. And what's going to happen, there's going to be some kind of issue that gets deposited or finds a place to reside. There's going to be some issue in the tissue. And then eventually, if that goes on for some time, there may be a physical manifestation of that depending on the susceptibility of the individual. And again, susceptibility means constitution, genetic, lifestyle, karma, all that stuff mixed up. And then again, you'll get the readout in the physical body. But the mind and the emotions, there is a digestive process that goes on there, and that is part of the mind-body medicine. And so understanding this larger process of digestion is something that I wanted to bring up and talk about, because it goes right back to the basics, because there is almost always, for example, if I'm taking a digestive case or any really chronic disease case, and even acute conditions, but the example is easier to understand with chronic diseases because they take time to manifest and to kind of reveal themselves in the physical body. But that stuff, if there are chronic diseases going, believe me, they don't happen overnight. That stuff has been brewing and cooking and solidifying and densifying for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And then eventually it gives the readout in the physical system. So the mind-body medicine is super important, and this idea of mental emotional digestion is really kind of one take on mind-body medicine. So that's one thing that we want to keep in mind. And that's really the topic that I wanted to bring up today. Kind of short and sweet, relatively short and sweet. So you guys think about that. Let me know what you're thinking. And if you understand what I'm talking about, great. Go in, do the work. And there are a gajillion tools. There are many mind-body tools. Again, this is what a lot of the yogic sciences and the science and the system of yoga is geared for. Again, that's not necessarily a religious practice. That is a lifestyle practice, a very scientific practice that's used to harmonize the geometries and the inner physics of the being, to harmonize all these different levels. And when all of those are in a proper resonance with each other and there's no noise in the field, the readout is health. And so attending to the full spectrum being is part of the journey of healing, and it's opening up to the space of possibility and having this greater understanding that you are a whole person and not just a flesh and bone. There are these layers that are extending out, and this is the full spectrum being that we're responsible for tending to. So that's the download, Mind Body Medicine. You guys let me know your thoughts on this. Is this making sense? Do you have experience with this? How have you, is there any click that has happened recently in your world, or maybe as we're doing this session? Share that below, guys. I love to hear these stories. You guys chat, and let's support each other, share the other stories that everybody has. You guys have a wonderful day, and we will see you next time for next session. Adios for now.